Oregon. My name's Kirby and I'm named after Kirby Peak. Hey Patreons, welcome back to Hike Oregon. Today I'm doing the winter Patreon question and answer video. I love doing these seasonal Patreon Q&As for you guys. It's so much fun and you guys really have some great questions all the time. I'm sitting in a new kind of setup. I don't know, I get so bored with because you can't see the whole picture that's over my little sofa that I usually film in front of, and so it's just like, I don't know, I don't love it. I've also filmed in my living room, which is fine, but like I like to switch it up. So for you Patreon folks, I'm here also in my office. My office is very tiny, but I have this little desk. As you can see, I like orange. Everything is orange. My phone case is orange. My water bottle is orange. My label printer is orange. Everything's orange. Anyway, now that we've established that I like orange, let's get into the questions. Albert asked, just came back from a snowshoe overnight backpacking trip, so this is on my mind. What are your current snowshoes and what others have you owned in the past? I have two pairs of snowshoes and I use them for different things. So, first I have the MSR Lightning Ascent Giant, guys. I'm pretty sure this is a men's size. When I bought them, it didn't specify men's or women's. It just had like the length, and I was like, well, I need a longer snowshoe because I'm doing this and this. This snowshoe is so overkill for what I do. Now, the length is. The snowshoe itself, God, those straps are obnoxious. The snowshoe itself is great. As you can see, it has these side teeth, which a lot of other snowshoes don't have. The side teeth are great if you are doing like steep side hill stuff, which I love. It is absolutely fantastic for that. And then it has this big spike claw thing. Love these snowshoes. They're great. I don't love the strapping, and they are just too long for anything I will ever need to do. We don't have deep powder here like you might in like Colorado or someplace colder and drier. I'm never in powder like that, so I don't need a snowshoe that is, you know, as long as my freaking torso. But these are great. I'm still not decided if I'm going to sell these and buy something a little bit smaller, or if I'm just going to switch between what I have and just deal with it. I'm undecided. I'm not sure. So the other snowshoe that I have is an older pair of tubs. By older, I mean they're probably 25 years old and they still have like the nylon strapping. So the newer tubs, all this is like plastic kind of binding, which is way better because the nylon, when it gets wet, it freezes and then it's really hard to undo your straps and redo them. But these are super lightweight. As you can see, they don't have any claws here. They have two tiny spikes here and then one spike here. These are really great for when I'm doing stuff on an already established snowshoe trail and something that's pretty tamped down. I would not use this in like deep snow or if I have to break trail or anything like that. I'm just gonna sink in these. As you can see, they are much smaller, much shorter. They're super lightweight. My snowshoes serve different purposes. These are the ones I started with and I felt like I needed something a little more modern and aggressive. I went too far on that end of the spectrum. It's kind of tough with snowshoes. I recommend like maybe renting some before you buy your permanent pair. You might end up getting something that you don't really love. But I go maybe 5 times a year, so it's like whatever to me. It's not a huge deal. It's not like my trail runners or hiking boots or something I wear all the time. Sam asked, hello there. I was wondering, what was your favorite waterfall trip? A favorite waterfall hike is, it's really difficult because there's so many amazing waterfall hikes here in Oregon. If you want the biggest bang for your buck, it's definitely Silver Falls State Park. You literally get 10 waterfalls in a 8.5-mile loop. It's just great. And then any waterfall along the Columbia River Gorge, you can do a day trip and also see like 5 to 8 waterfalls. So anything along there is pretty dang awesome. Shannon L asked, I feel super intimidated by the new permitting process in some parts of Oregon. How do you manage getting permits? When are important dates to know? And how do you work around the crowds in popular areas? As in finding parking at trailhead, finding campsites in the backcountry, etc. So that last part of your question has been solved by the permit process. The problem before the permits was that places like Green Lakes or Devil's Lake, you couldn't find parking. It was impossible, especially if you got there after like 8 a.m. Parking lot was full. That has pretty much been taken care of by the permitting process. They only allow a certain amount of people per day to go on these trails. I mean, Devil's Lake is still a very small parking lot, so there you might still run into issues, but Green Lakes should be taken care of. It's a pretty large parking lot, not a ton of permits per day go from there. So finding campsites, even before the permit process, I never had any issues. Green Lakes, I was there on a pretty busy day, and you know, there was a few campsites available that weren't like the amazing sites with all the views and stuff. So sometimes maybe you gotta compromise and just not get the best site. In places like that, there are established campsites, and you have to pick ones where there's like a sign, like it'll say a number, and you have to stay at one of those designated campsites. Because they're designated campsites, they're all going to be flat, they're all going to be good for camping. It's not like you have to then camp, who knows, on like a slant or something like that. Everywhere else in the backcountry, I mean, there's so many places to camp. I've honestly never had an issue really backpacking and finding a site. Sometimes you just have to look. I was in the Wallowas at some pretty popular lakes when I was doing my loop, where some people just like would go in for like one night, and so some of the lakes were pretty crowded. I ended up actually camping at a different lake because there just weren't any good sites available. Sometimes you just have to do that, you know, maybe have a plan B in mind, but usually you don't. Usually you can find camping. And then the permit process, so they made some changes to the Central Cascades permit system, and some of them are good, some of them are eh. I guess the important date changes are that the permits are now required from June 15th to October 15th. They are no longer required from the last Friday in May to the last Friday in September. They've kind of shifted the permit. So keep that in mind. And as far as getting permits, only overnight permits are being released in April. If you are planning to backpack, keep that in mind. It's the first Tuesday in April. So this year it's April 5th, 7 a.m. 40% of the backpacking overnight permits will be released. So if you have a certain trailhead in mind that you know you want to backpack from, get online 7 a.m. April 5th and get your permit. Shouldn't be too difficult. The day use permits have been shifted. There's no early release for those. It's 10 days prior to whatever date you want to. My cat. It's 10 days prior from to whatever date you want to go. So let's say you want to go July 15th, you can get a permit on July 5th. So it's 10 days prior or 2 days prior. He clearly wants birds. So 10 days prior or 2 days prior, those are the changes that they've made. If you have any other questions, let me know. I made a whole video last year about it, but I guess that's kind of doesn't have updated information. So I don't know if you really want to watch that and get confused. How do I manage getting permits, I guess was another part of the question. You know, for me, it wasn't very difficult to get permits last year, and I think this year with the new changes that they've made is probably going to be even easier to get permits. Lisa asked, what has your experience been recently with respect to crime/break-ins at trailheads, specifically near Eugene and Oakridge? I constantly read people's break-in stories, and I've been so lucky. I've never had my car broken into at a trailhead or windows broken or anything taken off my car or vandalism or anything like that. And I hike near Oakridge all the time. It's just never been an issue for me because of all the things I've heard lately. I am more conscious about taking my wallet with me. I've been known to, leave it in my car, obviously not in plain sight, but I do sometimes leave it. Then if someone were to get into my car, they would obviously take that. So that's not good. The last few times I've gone hiking, I have taken my wallet, but because I'm not used to taking my wallet, I then forget it in my hiking backpack, and then I'll end up going to a store and not have my wallet. That's happened to me 2 times now, and so I need to get used to, like, after the hike is done, taking it back out and putting it in my purse. But yeah, I've not had any bad experiences. I think it helps that I have tinted windows. They are so dark that you can't see in them really hardly at all. Like the back windows, you can put your eyes to the window and not see anything in the seat. The front windows you can, but like I don't keep anything in my car. So I think that's kind of why people have not broken in, just because there's nothing in there. Lisa also asked, do you have any starter backpacking trips that you can recommend for someone who hasn't gone before? Maybe I should have read these questions before filming the video. So I will put some options right here on the screen.
Feel it now every time I leave. It hits me hard and it cuts me deep. I'm 1,000 miles from happiness, 1,000 miles from you. It's a far reach from you to me. I feel the time and the space.
Another question she had was, have you ever tried any of the female urination devices that help women pee standing up? Yes, I have actually. And the only scenario that I have used this in was when I was snowshoeing and it was really, really cold. But that is the only time I've used it. I don't mind squatting. I don't have an issue squatting. Snowshoeing is a really great time to use it because you don't want to take all those layers off. It's a huge pain in the butt. And then it's also really cold. Having one of those devices is really great. What parking passes do you buy? I am most confused by Oregon Coast Parking Pass. If I'm reading things correctly, it seems like that one would only make sense if I'm sticking primary. I've never heard of the Oregon Coast Parking Pass. Otherwise, it seems to be better to get an Oregon State Pass and either a Northwest Forest Pass or America the Beautiful Pass. Yeah, so America the Beautiful Pass covers BLM, national parks, national forests. If you frequent all of those, I would definitely get that. I think it's worth it, especially if you're gonna go to Crater Lake once or twice a year, if you're gonna do BLM stuff and the national forests. I think that's a great option. It's a good bang for your buck if you know you're gonna go to these places. If you are on the coast frequently, I think I've never heard of the Oregon Coast Pass. Okay, I did some more research on the Oregon Coast thing. It's called Oregon Pacific Coast Passport, and it is a multi-agency day-use passport that covers entry, vehicle parking, and day-use fees at over 15 sites, state and federal fee sites. Forest Service, National Park Service, BLM, Oregon Parks and Recreation, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, there's 15 places where you can use this. I don't think it is worth it unless you are like driving down the coast and going to these places. If you have a state park pass and an annual national forest pass, then you don't really need these. There's only a few areas where you would need to like pay extra. So I don't think this Oregon Coast passport is worthwhile. Primarily for the Oregon coast, it's a lot of state parks there and state recreation areas. Your Northwest Forest Pass covers state recreation areas. Cape Perpetua, for example, your Northwest Forest Pass would work there. It just depends on what you are doing and where you are frequently hiking. So when I was living in Bend for a few months, I definitely got a state park pass. It paid for itself like after 3 times of going to a state park, and there's so many state parks there. So yeah, I think it just depends on where you frequently hike. This question is more specific to Eugene, so I understand if you don't want to answer this, but I'm curious if you would share your favorite places to go for a quick after work type hike in the area. Compared to places like Bend, Eugene just doesn't have a lot of those kinds of places. I frequently drive over an hour to get to hikes near Eugene. After work type hikes, Spencer's Butte, Mount Pisgah, obviously those are in town. If you want something just outside of town, I recommend Mount June. You can do the shorter or the longer option. There's Eagle's Rest, which is really nice, and you can also do a shorter or a longer option. In the late spring, early summer, when you have more daylight, you could do something like Patterson Mountain. There's the North Shore Trail. There's always something like Horse Rock Ridge, but that's, again, it depends on where you're coming from in Eugene, but that can be quite a drive. You're really driving 30 to 45 minutes to any of these places. Eugene unfortunately doesn't have some like really great stuff that's like super close, besides obviously Spencer's Butte and Mount Pisgah. Tanya asked, what would be the best town at the coast to serve as home base for a hiking trip? I want to do a 3-day trip, hopefully hiking some iconic places. I've only hiked Cape Perpetua and Cape Lookout so far. Florence would be a great home base, to be honest. There is stuff, 20 minutes north of Florence, and then there's stuff south of Florence. I think Florence would be a great bet for that. Obviously, there's stuff on the north coast as well. I mean, there's so many coastal towns. I'm not familiar with all of them. Stuff in Southern Oregon, Bandon I think is another really nice one. There's a lot of options, but Florence is a really, really solid option. You're gonna have 10 to 15 hiking trails just north and south of Florence. Tanya also asked, where do you find info on the most remote hikes in places like Oakridge? I have found a lot of like the remote stuff in the back of my Sullivan book. I have a really old Sullivan guidebook from 1992, and he's always put the lesser known hikes in the back. So I have really found a lot of great things in the back of this older guidebook. Now, some of the trails, like I said, because they're in the back, are remote and it's an older guidebook. Some of these trails really don't exist anymore, so I've definitely had some flops, but some have been really, really epic. I also find a lot of trails that don't really have any information just by perusing my map on the computer on Gaia. Gaia has a lot of the older trails on it as well. So again, sometimes those can be a complete flop. I've recently gone on some where this trail clearly used to exist but doesn't anymore. It was on the map, but some are really great gems. I've recently discovered one that is not on the internet really hardly at all, except on the Forest Service website. It is on there, but it's nowhere else, and it was magical. It was absolutely incredible hike. So just perusing the map and just going on an adventure is the way I find a lot of the remote hidden gems. Ken asked a few questions. So the first one is, how are new trails made, and would you ever want to make one? I have no idea how new trails are made. This is a topic I think that you suggested for a video, and I would love to make a video all about this. I need to do some more research, maybe interview some Forest Service folks about this. I think it'd be really interesting. And of course, yeah, I would love to volunteer to make a new trail. In instead of making a new trail, I would actually prefer to focus on reestablishing older trails that have not gotten attention in a long time and have grown over or kind of been abandoned. I would love to reestablish some trails. Have you ever thought about doing guided hikes? So when I first started doing Hike Oregon and trying to figure out what route I was gonna go as far as how to monetize Hike Oregon, I definitely looked into doing guided hikes and what that would entail. In order to take money from people and do guided hikes, you are, as the guide, required to pay some fees to the state, to the Forest Service. It becomes then also even more complicated if you are recreating in designated wilderness. Obviously, you need liability insurance and all of that kind of stuff. With all of those fees and liability insurance and stuff, it would just make the guided hike so expensive that, I mean, I figured people wouldn't pay for that. It's not really worth it, I think, to offer that service, just because I would then have to be available at all times for people to book this. Also, to pay for my time and all these fees and such would be a crazy amount of money. I don't think people would pay. I think unless that's like a huge part of your business, like I do guided hikes, I have hired a guide. This guide is available at all times to do these things. There's like a person minimum. Maybe you're offering lunch or something like that. And then you just have that as like a service. Maybe then it's worth it. For just me to occasionally offer this, I would need to carry liability insurance all the time. And that's really expensive and just not something that I can do. So I don't offer guided hikes. If you could have any superpower, which would you choose and why? I think if I could choose a superpower, it would be to make myself be in a place like really quick. What would you call that? I don't even know. Yeah, so like I hate wasting time in like the car. So if I could just be like, hey, I want to be at this trailhead and just snap my fingers and be there, that would be amazing. Also, if I could just snap my fingers and be in Germany to see my family, that would be incredible. So if I could choose some sort of magical power, that would be it. I love these questions. They're so random. If you could have dinner with anyone alive or dead, who would you choose and why? So let's pick an alive person and a dead person, shall we? So I did think about this question beforehand. I love that this is the only question I thought about beforehand. Didn't think about like the backpacking questions. So alive, I would choose Taylor Swift because I feel like I would really get along with her. I've always felt that way. She's super fun and into cats and kind of quirky and loves to do things like knitting and stuff like that. I think she's pretty cool. Plus she's super creative and yeah, I would love to have dinner with her. And a dead person that I would love to have dinner with is Elliott Smith, my favorite singer-songwriter who sadly committed suicide when I was in high school. I would have loved to have the chance to meet him. I was super obsessed. I love him. I love his music. If I could have dinner with someone who has passed, that would be him. Is there a musical instrument you can't play but wish you could? Probably the didgeridoo. I have tried. I own a didgeridoo that I purchased from Australia that I can't play. I mean, I can like do notes, but I can't play it like you're supposed to play a didgeridoo. I think that is a really cool instrument that I just cannot learn to play. I also wish I could sing really well. What is something on your bucket list? Hiking and non-hiking. Well, hiking, I think I said this in one of my past Q&As. Hiking in New Zealand is like huge on my bucket list. And non-hiking related, I mean, I want to go to Hawaii, but I also really want to win an award. I know that's not like a bucket list item per se, but I've always wanted to be recognized for something and to win an award. I don't know why. Like when I was at my previous job, we had this award thing every year and I just wanted to win an award so badly. I never did. I never really won any awards in high school or anything like that. Like, I don't know. I've always wanted to win an award. I would just love to be recognized for something that I did, you know? Because like I work really hard and it would be really cool to like have some sort of award. I mean, I know I have like my books and stuff I can like show for my hard work, but it's so different to like get recognized by other people for something that you work hard on. If you could only hike one more trail, which one would it be and why? If I could only hike one trail for the rest of my life, it would probably be to Golden Lake, just because I love Golden Lake. You get so many views along the way, so you see all like the Three Sisters, you get forest, you get lake, so much on this one hike. So yeah, if I could hike one trail for the rest of my life, it would be Park Meadow to Golden Lake. What's the one piece of hiking gear that you simply cannot do without? Right here, my Z-Packs Virtus rain pants. Oh, love these. Seriously, if I could give these to everyone, I would. Like, this is a must-have piece of gear for Oregon hiking, because they're not only rain pants that are breathable when you're hiking, because you know, rain gear, you don't really want to wear rain gear when it's like, you know, 45, 55 degrees, you get hot, you get sweaty, yuck. You might as well just get wet with rain. No, these are breathable, they're incredible, but they're not only rain pants, they're mosquito pants. Like, I probably wear these more in the summer than I do in the winter and spring, just because I wear these for mosquito protection when I'm backpacking. They're absolutely incredible. Z-Packs Virtus rain pants. I will link them below. Everyone must have them. What is something you love about living in Eugene? That's a great question. The only thing I could come up with for this, because I really don't love the town, but the thing I like about living in Eugene is the location of Eugene. The fact that I am an hour from the mountains and an hour from the coast is absolutely awesome to me. I love that I can be in Medford in, you know, in like 2.5 hours or so. I can go up to the Columbia Gorge in about 2-ish hours or a little bit more. Just a great overall location. What is something you are thankful for? I am thankful that I can do Hike Oregon full time. I am thankful for my family and that my family is so close-knit. I love that. Yeah, I'm just super thankful to live in Oregon. Honestly, I don't know what I would do if I didn't live here. It's such an amazing place. So we are ending on that note. And if you don't already, follow me over on Instagram. That's where I post pictures from all my recent hiking adventures and soon backpacking adventures. And if you have any more questions that I can use on the next Q&A, just put them in the comments below or comment them on Patreon, wherever. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will catch you on the next adventure.